We're here today with Professor Fukagawa Yukiko, who's Professor of Economics and Political Science at Waseda University in Japan, here as a visiting scholar currently at Cambridge University, and here today to participate in a conference on security challenges in East Asia. Professor Fukagawa, economic integration has sometimes been presented as a potential solution to the growing tensions we're seeing in the region. How far do you think that process can go as a means of ameliorating some of these very real and present dangers?
The positive thing is that all the members have actually did experience such an economic success, and they're pretty much confident over the past success. But the other thing is, well, sometimes they tend to be so nationalistic because, we made such a success, so why do we have to say more what we want to say? So this is a kind of thing that is happening. So it's a double sword of success in the region.
And there are different ways in which economic integration can be encouraged, bilaterally, but also multilaterally. And we've seen some initiatives. TPP, of course, is a topic of great concern.
It's a whole mixtures of everything. So what we are practically trying to do is to see, we'll try to do everything that we can do. And in the meantime, probably the best solution will be provided in the evolutionary process. And that's what we are trying to do right now.
Professor Fukagawa, you're also a specialist in relations between Japan and South Korea. And South Korea, under its new government, under the leadership of President Park Geun-hye, has been making overtures to China recently. And many people note the difficulty in relations between South Korea and Japan. This seems to be, in a sense, the weak side of that trilateral triangle at the moment. In terms of economic cooperation between South Korea and Japan, what's your assessment of where things are at the moment and where they could go in the future?
I think the key probably lies in Korea's new growth strategies, because, in the past they tried to almost copy what Japan did in the past, and they tried to catch up with Japan, and that's the kind of growth strategies. But now their wage is already high enough, and they have to compete for not only based on the imitated technologies, but for their own innovations. And that might be the new, very different relationship with Japan and Korea. And we have a lot of common to tackle with: aging population, Chinese environment problems. So we had actually a hidden potential in a business world.
If we come back to Mr. Abe and both his domestic economic strategy and his foreign policy in the economic sphere. Domestically, the third of Japan's three arrows, structural reform, has often been criticized as being, in a sense, underdeveloped, and there is the fear that the old pattern of the LDP, in a sense, using structural economic policies as a means of shoring up its political base, will make it very difficult for Mr. Abe to really promote reform. There's been a lot of talk about new special enterprise zones, opening up Japan's market to foreign competition. How serious is he about structural reform?
I think in an ironical way, one of the things that PM Abe is exposed to is the market pressure. So now we are running the current account deficit, very large deficit. That means since our budgetary deficit is so huge, without the current account deficit, we are under the enormous pressure from the market. So if the market is continuously very much disappointed with the seriousness about the reform, then what will happen to a Japanese government bond? So it's a pressure. So in that sense, I think ironically, PM Abe seems to be lucky.
So in that sense, he doesn't really have a great deal of choice.
No.
And the people who are advising him on economic policy, what's your take on their expertise and their commitment to driving forward these reforms?
I think the peoples are quite divided in terms of the people who's really supporting the political kind of reforms like collective security. So this guy probably includes some very rightist type of people. But on the other hand, he personally seems to be quite an international kind of orientation. So his ideas of strong Japan or Japan is back is based on the global kind of framework. So then the nationalists or internationalists are also surrounding him. So it's total mixtures of very different values.
Professor Fukagawa, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.